I had the good fortune to meet George Harrison in 1983 in Hawaii. I'd been living there for a few months, and I was camping out on the most remote part of Maui, East Maui, where George had a home. And I went to the store to pick up some food, and there was George in this little mom and pop store, and I almost didn't see him. But there he was, and I decided I might take a risk here and just go up to him and say hello. I surely was not going to miss the chance. My girlfriend was actually the one who spotted him. Left to my own devices, it wouldn't even have happened. We were pulling out of a parking lot, and she saw George going into the store. And she said, "That's George Harrison." So I backed the car back into the space. I said, "Are you kidding? Are you sure?" She said, "I saw George Harrison walk into that store." So I said, "Well, come on, let's go meet him." And she said, "No, you go meet him. I'm going to watch." So I got out of the car and left her in the car, went, knowing he was going to come out very quickly. Stalling for time, I stood outside the store, pretending to peruse the notices on the bulletin board. I knew I didn't have much time. His wife, Olivia, and his baby were in the car, and the car was running. Sure enough, within a couple of minutes, George exited the store, obviously in a bit of a hurry, with his food in the bag, and I literally stood in front of him, and I said, "I know you're George Harrison, and I just have to meet you." And I held out my hand, and he stopped and held out his hand, and he stood there for the next 90 seconds and engaged me. Humored me is probably more like it. So I said, "It's just such a pleasure to meet you." And I was determined not to say anything stupid or cliche or to ask for his autograph. I just wanted the moment to just be there with him. He was so gracious. Driving there, my girlfriend and I had just finished smoking a big reefer. I couldn't help but wonder if he had picked up on my mental state. I suppose it didn't matter because there was steady eye contact. So before it got very awkward, I remembered that only a week before, someone that I knew was boasting to me that he knew George. And not only did he know him, he had been invited to treat him for some health issues that he was having. The guy was a doctor. Groping for a moment for something to say, and I said, "Yes, I'm a friend of Malik," expecting George Harrison to say, "Oh, yes, we have a mutual friend." Instead, George politely drew a blank. So the awkward moment that I had hoped to salvage became just a bit more awkward in a second, because it was clear that George did not know Malik. So I said, "Forgive me, I thought that you were a friend of Malik." He looked at me and said, "I think I've heard the name." So I took my cue, extended my hand, and I said, "It is such a pleasure to meet you. Thank you." Turned and walked away. Got in my car, and George, Olivia, and Danny drove off. I was only one of many people who lived there who had already met George Harrison, and everyone knew that he was friendly and nice. I didn't expect it to be any other way. I was electrified because I knew what an honor and how rare it is to have met any of them. How many people can say that they've met a Beatle? Perhaps millions, thousands, I don't know. But as a percentage of the people in the world, it is very, very small. So I counted myself among the lucky elites who just perchance had an encounter with a Beatle who to me was just so gracious. George's persona was grace, and I felt that. There was no showmanship there. It was the highlight of my life. Thank you.